What'd you think of that finish?
My goodness.
Let us know on our live stream. Give us some of your thoughts. It was just amazing. As we sit here today, BYU's 11th in the AP Top 25. They're 12th in the coaches poll, and they're in first place in the Big 12.
Yeah, and I love that even though Iowa State has the same record, on everything that's published, BYU's first. Is that alphabetical?
I don't think so. I think it might have something to do with points.
Whatever it is, I love that BYU is in
No one's
first
scoring
place.
more points than BYU in the Big 12. Well, what a difference from a year ago.
Wow. Yeah, and what a difference. A year, 4 games under Jake Retzlaff's belt, and then he's been getting better every single game. And now this offense is something to be reckoned with. Gus Malzahn, UCF's head coach, said, man, this is a defense that gives you so many different looks. They're really creative, and it's hard to know what to do against them. And this offense is unbelievably efficient and one of the best offenses in the league. Did we ever think we were going to hear that?
No.
After last year?
No, we did not.
So there you go.
We wondered, and we wondered aloud.
Yeah.
All summer long.
And we thought, can Jake Retzlaff figure out how to take care of the ball? Can he rein it in a little bit? Steve Young even asked that when we had him on the show. Can he do this? It's been a very pleasant surprise at how far this offense has come in such a short period of time. And you know what's really exciting? A lot of young guys on that offense. Yeah. This offense is back next year. And so Conrad Monson says, hey, Blaine, what things do you see that parallel the 84 team?
Undefeated?
That's a great question. Yeah, 7-0. Well, the other thing, the thing that most makes me think about that 84 team is how this team talks all the time about how well they all gel with one another, the culture that they have, this kind of attitude of love and trusting one another. We felt that immediately to begin the year in 84, and we had a couple of tough games. We gutted those games out because of it. And people don't remember, they always think of BYU in offense. In 84, we hung our hat on defense. That 84 defense with Kurt Govea and Leon White and Kyle Morrell and Jim Herman, just to name a few.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on and on and on. Marv Allen and Kerry Whittingham and Dave Neff. And this was a phenomenal defense. Brad Smith at the nose. The defense kept us in every game. There's a big parallel. This defense, the season started out with the defense carrying this team and the offense coming along. That's exactly what happened in 84. We had a brand new quarterback in Robbie Bosco. I was backing him up that year. I was new. We'd been around, but we hadn't had significant minutes, right? And so the defense held us together while Robbie grew up and while I grew up and played in some games. Those are the parallels. The tight-knit way that this group operates reminds me of that tight-knit group in 84. The way that they trust one another and there's no offense versus defense, that reminds me of 84. And the fact that they're 7-0 reminds me of 84. When they're 13-0, it'll really remind me of 84.
Oh, yeah. I wrote an article today in the Deseret News on the Darius Lassiter touchdown catch. Was that the Kyle Morrell moment for the 2024 group? As Kyle Morrell made that big defensive play against Hawaii. A lot of folks forget that play against Hawaii was in September. Yeah. They had 8 more games to win. So it didn't save the season. It just became bigger as the season went. Then it became iconic. Yeah. And now the Lassiter catch.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Diane McCann just checking in the house.
She must be bored out of her mind.
Diane McCann is checking
She's
in.
on the Wise Guys. Hey, everyone. If Diane's on the Wise Guys live stream, everyone is. All right. Saturday, BYU at UCF, 1:30 Mountain Time, ESPN. Game day starts at 11:30 a.m. Mountain Time on BYU TV and ESPN+. Let's talk about beating Oklahoma State, and we'll hear from Kalani in just a moment. But 38-35, I wished everybody could have been in the stadium, and a lot of folks on the stream were. When Lassiter caught the ball at like the 8, and everyone knew there was no way Oklahoma State was going to keep him out. No. And then a magical moment happened as he's in the end zone.
He put the juke of the century on number 6. I can't remember 6's name, but 6 tackled error. Not only did he do a pressure step to the left, he also he took his. They say only Elvis Presley can make a move where you actually move your hips. I think Darius actually moved his hips to the left, took his head fake to the left. And 6 tackled nothing but error as Darius moved to the right, jumped through another tackle. We went nuts up on the set because we couldn't believe it.
I was watching on ESPN's Pardon the Interruption today, and Michael Wilbon was talking about, they were talking about Georgia, Texas, and then he shifted right to BYU, and he said, you know what, BYU isn't good as Georgia, but they're more fun to watch.
Yeah, they are more fun to watch.
Anyway, there's so much good PR coming from that one. It was a Friday night. We'll know how many millions of people were watching later in the week when they put that out. But Lassiter, just 6 catches, 129 yards. His 6th was the game winner. And Jake Retzlaff threw for 218. He ran for 81. Ran for a touchdown, threw for 2, and after the first half didn't turn the ball over. That was important.
That was very important. And, BYU, the formula has been the defense forces turnovers, the offense takes care of the ball. That wasn't the case. The offense had some turnovers in this one.
Yeah.
And at least the defense forced a couple that paid off and kept them in the game, and the offense made a play at the end to win this thing. It was fun for me because I feel like the defense was winning more. If you had to put it on one side or the other, and they've been winning together, but you'd give more credit to the defense for almost every win so far. That win was on the offense. They went and made big plays and moved the ball up and down the field and stayed out in front and put all those points on the board, 38 points on the board. This was a win for the offense, which I think even brings this team even closer together, because the defense can now say, hey, guys, we gave up some big plays. Thanks for having our backs on this one, and we'll come back against Central Florida, and we're gonna figure some things out. Didn't plan on that quarterback running around like a crazy man. They're planning on Brown running around. We'll get into that more, but I think now the defense is gonna feel like, hey, we owe the offense a payback for this one. It's our turn to step it up again. That's a great, kind of a way to go into this next game at 7-0 with the defense feeling like they have a debt of gratitude that they owe the offense. I love it.
Harrison Taggart had 11 tackles. LJ Martin ran 20 times for 120 yards and a couple of touchdowns. That wasn't a great run-stopping Oklahoma State defense. When BYU got the ball in the third quarter, they ran 7 straight times and got into the end zone to tie the game at 21. It was almost like, look, they can't tackle us. Let's just stay on the ground and get drive. Moving.
It reminded me, was it 96 against Utah when Brian McKenzie, and we had Brian on the show, Brian McKenzie and Ronnie Jenkins just teamed up to just run Utah on the ground. Here's the thing, Oklahoma State's a big-time run team, right? 7.3 yards a carry is what they average. BYU averaged 7.1 yards a carry, 255 yards rushing for BYU in that game. That surprised me. Better balance for BYU, 218 yards passing versus 161 for Oklahoma State. And I had to think long and hard. Like, BYU hasn't won a lot of games when they've been -1 in turnover margin. No. But they came up with a way to do it. The offense came up with a way to make a play. 5 of 10 on third downs was better than they've been on offense. They were 2 for 2 on fourth. Maybe the most important play on the last drive outside of the touchdown was the 4th down conversion pass to Chase Roberts.
Yeah, and if it wasn't even that great of a pass. He had to jump and stretch and hang on to it.
It's a great play by Chase. And then the run, and what a heady play by Jake going down the sideline, looking up at the clock, going, I've got time. I can get 25 more yards. Then I'm going to get down. Then we can clock it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, all that had to be going through his mind. He cut back inside. He got BYU down in striking distance. And so there was that entire drive was a series of big-time decisions and big-time plays. And we all will remember the Darius Lassiter touchdown, but I'm going to choose to put in my memory bank, in my mind, the 4th down catch by Chase Roberts and the great run by Jake.
That was a good one.
Yep.
A shout-out to some folks on the live stream. Chuck from Seattle, Adam from San Antonio, Jail from Pleasant Hill, California. That's in the Bay Area. Carlos from Orem, Linda from Saratoga Springs, and folks from all over the world. We're just getting started tonight. Elder Clark Gilbert's going to join us in just a few minutes. And Christian Rasband, by the way, he's the alumni chair for Central Florida for BYU. He's going to join us live later in the show, talk about all the activities around the game on Saturday, the service project that everybody's involved in, and how you can get involved even if you're not going to Orlando for the game. So that's coming up later tonight. It looks like, and they're going on Thursday, so they practically have their bags packed already, don't they?
They're getting ready to go. It's a short week because of the travel day.
Yeah.
But last week was a shorter week because of a Friday night game, and so they'll maximize what they've got done. I know that the coaches, right after that Oklahoma State game, while we were late on our shows, they were already back breaking down film and giving out grades and doing all that so that they could get going full speed first thing this morning on Central Florida. So they'll be ready to roll. And, unlike this last week when they go into a game and they're really not quite sure what to expect at quarterback with Rangel in there instead of Bauman. They now have a whole game film of Ja'Cory Brown. And so they'll be more prepared for what Central Florida is going to do this next week than perhaps they were defensively with a brand new quarterback after a bye week for Oklahoma State. And Central Florida just had a rough game on the road that they lost at Iowa State. So they have this same, if not a little less time to prepare. I really feel like you give Mike Gundy an extra week to prepare like he did at Oklahoma State, and he changes quarterbacks, and they do a bunch of different things on offense, and they do some wrinkles on defense that they hadn't seen. Mike Gundy's the master of the midseason turnaround and has been for years, and I would not be surprised to see Oklahoma State kind of move forward, although did we ever get word on what happened to their quarterback?
I don't know.
Was
it
that
looked
a
like
broken
his shoulder,
collarbone or shoulder or something? It didn't look good.
Harold from Springville is in. Eric checking in from sunny Singapore. He says, best Saturday morning ever because it was Saturday morning when BYU beat Oklahoma State. Fantastic.
What time is it in Singapore right now? Check.
It's like 10 a.m. or something.
Remind us of that, because we always love to know what time you're watching. We know it's tomorrow there, and we're just glad you're here with us.
Here's what we liked. We liked BYU's resiliency in that football game. We loved that the Cougars averaged 7.1 yards per carry. We loved that there were just 3 penalties combined, kept things moving along. BYU had just 2 penalties. There were no punts in the game. And you know what else we love? We love those drones floating above the stadium. What the heck? That was awesome.
Even Oklahoma State's associate athletic director was at the game, and he tweeted out that he's been in more than 30 stadiums around the country in big-time venues, and he said this was something special. It was unique and unbelievable. Everybody says that. Even Mike Gundy said, in his post-game interview, he said that's one great game day experience for everybody. And he said, this is a great addition to our conference. He was very impressed by it as well.
Eric says it's 8:18 a.m.
8:18 a.m. Eric, way to go. Way to be in here with us.
Roger's with us from Mount Dora, Florida, and David from up in Heber City, Utah.
So they said, Roger says they're going to be at the game on Saturday.
Sweet.
Let's go.
Savannah, Georgia, checking in. Justin, good to have you with us. Here's what we didn't like: 3 turnovers in the first half.
Yeah, that was killer.
Yeah, and they were bad turnovers. 2 of them cost points.
Yeah.
And then 269 yards rushing allowed. We didn't like. BYU struggled to contain the quarterback all game long. Rangel, and you talked about a moment ago, he was just different enough, and the defensive ends went inside on the fakes instead of holding their ground, and he turned the corner. Ironically, he got hurt, knocked out of the game after a 50-yard run.
Yeah, and BYU's backside took the cheese, as our colleague Brian Logan likes to call it, when they were running that zone read where he reads the backside player. And we'll talk about this on AFR tomorrow. And those backside guys, whether it's the end or back or whoever's assignment that is, they have to stay home and stay square to the line of scrimmage. And too many times in that game, those guys were chasing running backs that didn't have the ball. And that was a departure from the way BYU's played this year defensively. They've been really gap sound and assignment sound, but I don't think they expected a heavy dose of that zone read stuff.
No.
Didn't know what to expect from Rangel, and they had been getting ready to tee off and go rush the passer, because with Bauman as a quarterback, they might throw it 55 times in a game.
Before we do our Cougar Board question of the week, let's go over Blaine's keys to beating Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Each week we lay out 3 things that are going to happen, and then we look at them and see if they did happen. And usually they do. But number 1, no big plays over the top.
They got some big plays, but they didn't get them over the top. And I think if they'd gotten, some 60 and 70-yard touchdowns, it might have been a different result. So I'm going to give them. I didn't like the big plays, but they technically didn't give any over the top. And so I'll give them a check for that. It's not a big check; it's a little check.
Shout out to Rick joining us from Tokyo on the live stream.
All right,
tonight.
Rick. Say hi to Corey Yoshimura.
Yeah, you just see him in the subway. You should just see him in the subway.
Hopefully you see him over there.
Win the turnover margin, create short fields. BYU had 3 turnovers. Oklahoma State had 2, but the Cougars turned their 2 turnovers into 14 points.
Yeah, we're going to give them a minus on it because they were minus in turnover margin. That's why the game was close. Okay. If BYU does their typical thing and forces 2 turnovers and gets 14 points and doesn't turn it over, they win this game going away. It's not close.
Third thing, contain the Oklahoma State running game. They averaged 7.3 yards a carry.
Yeah, did not do it.
No. Somehow we still won the game.
It's remarkable that they won.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's because the offense showed up in a big, big way, especially in the second half. They scored on every drive.
Yeah, they got 4. They scored 4 times.
Yeah,
and they had to.
That's remarkable. And so, hey, kudos and my hat's off to the offense. They haven't won a game like that this year, and they just proved that when they're not doing what they normally do, the other side maybe can step it up and win a game. Offense won the game.
After further review, tomorrow, 5 o'clock Mountain Time on the BYU TV app and ESPN+. We'll break down the Oklahoma State game, what worked, what didn't. We'll show you why, and then we'll preview Central Florida. We caught the best hour of BYU football on TV. It's on the BYU TV app and ESPN+ tomorrow at 5. Elder Clark Gilbert just a few minutes away from joining us for a fascinating conversation that we think you'll like from all around the world on our live stream and on our social media channels.
Did you talk about the article you wrote today yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you already talked about that?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to read it.
I had it in a note, and then I threw it early because it was Lassiter, and was it the 84?
Yeah,
Kyle Morrell.
It's a great article. I love the article. You guys have to read that article in the Desert News today.
Surprises in the Big 12. Baylor beat Texas Tech 59-35. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Texas Tech was tied with BYU in first place.
The fact that they got 59 to Baylor is surprising, yes.
Colorado went to Arizona and beat them 34-7. What's going on with Arizona?
Did we break Arizona last week?
It feels like we might have.
We might have broke them.
Iowa State had UCF at home, and they had to score with 30 seconds left to win the game 38-35, which is the same score that BYU won by, having scored in the final seconds.
It's
that
crazy.
Was a surprise.
And you know what surprised me? But again, Central Florida changed quarterbacks and came with a bunch of different wrinkles to the offense. Iowa State's a very good run defensive football team and very physical. I was surprised at how Central Florida got so many big plays in the run game against them. That really surprised me. Iowa State's usually more disciplined than that.
BYU is 11. Iowa State's 10. Kansas State's 16. Those are the Big 12 teams in the AP 25. And here's something interesting that we love doing, bowl projections for this week. All right, as we sit right now, and remember, we sat here all summer. We also sat here all last season.
We were just hoping for a Pop-Tarts Bowl.
but as we sit right now, ESPN projects BYU to play Ohio State in the first round of the college football playoff.
Yeah. Jerry Palm, the CBS analyst, has them first round against Alabama. Now, remember, in the first round, you play at the higher seed team. So this would be at Ohio State in the Horseshoe, which would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Or in Tuscaloosa against Bama. How fun would that be? I'd rather play Bama, by the way.
Dirk from Deming, New Mexico, in on the live stream. 24/7 Sports, they've got BYU in the quarterfinals playing Texas. They've got BYU as a first-round bye, having won the Big 12 championship.
Remember, if they win the Big 12, they do not play in the
first round. And those are at neutral places that are warm.
They'll be the 4 seed if they win the Big 12, because obviously the Big 10 champion is going to be the 1 seed or a 2 seed. SEC champion is going to be a 1 seed or a 2 seed. So the Big 12 champion is either going to be a 3 seed or 4 seed. So you're getting a bye in the first round. And that's going to be at one of the big bowls, like the Rose Bowl's part of that right now.
Yeah, Fiesta
Bowl's
in there.
The Sugar Bowl's part of that. The
Warm
Fiesta
places.
Bowl's part of that. And the Peach Bowl. The 4 semis are the Peach Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, and the Rose Bowl this year.
We're going to ask Elder Gilbert a question. If BYU's hosting a playoff game in January or late December in Provo, is he going to be down there on the sideline with everybody else?
I hope he is.
It'll be like 10 below zero.
Yeah.
It won't be 10 below, but
we'll be there.
Remember that San Diego State game we did on December 12th? Coldest night of our lives?
Yeah.
Yeah, these games are after December 12th.
Well, we have those big puffy coats that you and I are going to wear.
How about hoods? Brett McMurphy, Action Sports. He's got BYU playing at Penn State in the first round.
Any one of those stadiums are just some of the best stadiums in the world. So fun. Penn State's over 100,000. Alabama, it's about 100,000. Ohio State is, I think, just under 100,000.
Texas is over that. But if we play Texas according to 24/7 Sports, it'll be at a neutral place.
That'll be in one of the bowls.
Isn't it crazy that we're in that conversation?
I love it.
I mean, we watched the team get there, but you're talking about Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, and BYU.
Here's the thing. I feel like if they take care of business this week, I love who they finish with and where.
Yeah.
I just feel like this is the toughest matchup left because how they ran the ball this last week against Iowa State, who's very good, and it's on the road, on the East Coast, 2 time zones. If they can figure out a way to win this game this week, I like them being in the college football playoff at that point.
Big 12 standings, BYU and Iowa State are tied for first at 4-0. Kansas State, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, and Colorado are all tied at 3-1. Remember, BYU's got the tiebreaker over Kansas State. Kansas State plays Iowa State on the final Saturday of the Big 12
Kansas
regular
State's
season.
looking really good right now. Avery Johnson's playing out of his mind. Like, they're playing really well. They're blowing people out.
Iowa State and Baylor have byes this week. Roll down the rest of the schedule for us.
And so Oklahoma State, Baylor said Kansas is at number 16, Kansas State. West Virginia at Arizona, Cincinnati at Colorado, Texas Tech at TCU, and one we're really interested in with all the changes going on, Utah at Houston.
Yeah, don't count out Houston in that one. Houston's probably gonna win that game.
What's Utah doing right now?
I'm not sure.
They just let go Andy Ludwig, who's been the offensive coordinator when they won a Sugar Bowl with Brian Johnson. He took them to 2 Rose Bowls, and they just, I don't know if they let him go or if Andy just said enough is enough and I'm out, or what happened. We don't really know the details. But they're going down to Houston without Andy Ludwig as the offensive coordinator next week. I'm really interested to see how that goes with a freshman quarterback. Wow.
Yeah, something's broken up there.
Yeah, it's messed up.
National games of note, number 5, Texas. They're at number 25, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's like
those are two things I never thought I'd ever hear somebody say. Number 25 in Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Number 21, Missouri is at number 15, Alabama. Number 8, LSU is at number 14, Texas A&M. So LSU is ahead of BYU in the poll, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then
go A&M.
Number 12, Notre Dame is at number 24, Navy. By the way, next week, Ty Detmer will be here. BYU basketball analyst Mark Durant as the Cougars get ready to go. On November 25th, BYU President Shane Reese and Utah President Taylor Randall will be here in studio.
I'm excited about that. That's going to be so fun to have both presidents in here. And they're coming in studio, right?
Yeah.
So they'll be here.
Yeah. It'll be the first time ever.
Do we split them up or do we let them sit next to each other and you and I sit over there?
We'll put them over there.
Oh, put them together. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we'll play a match of wits game.
They're actually great friends anyhow. So.
The game day is at 11:30 Saturday morning Mountain Time on BYU TV. The game's at 1:30 on ESPN, and then the post game is back on BYU TV as soon as ESPN's done with their coverage. Highs in the 80s, 5% chance of rain, a couple of clouds. It's going to be perfect. BYU's favored by 2. They're going to wear the Royal helmets, the white tops, Royal pants, Royal face masks. They haven't had that combination before. That's going to look cool. FBC Mortgage Stadium seats 40,000. And Blaine, you mentioned they're going to leave for Orlando on Thursday because they're going to the East Coast, and so they like to have an extra day for every time zone.
Yes.
So they'll practice their Thursday night, Friday, and then get serious on Saturday.
I like they're going down there. It's not going to be that crazy humid heat down there. 81 is nice. August. It's going to be great. Be perfect.
All right, your keys. Now we've heard 2 sets of keys.
Yeah.
You've had plenty of time to come to yours.
Mine fall in line with some of what they're saying. So my first key is stuff the run, especially big plays in the run game. This is a team that lives off of big plays. They don't drive the ball methodically down the field at 4 yards of carry. They get giant plays. As if you watch the Iowa State game, an 80-yard touchdown run by Harvey. They're a really talented running back, 5'9", 220, and is a rock when he runs the ball. Very quick. An 80-yard run for him. A 67-yard touchdown run by Ja'Cory Brown, their quarterback. That 63-yard pick six against Iowa State in that game. And so 21 of their points came on huge plays. And if you go back and watch the season, that's a theme for them. So BYU needs to make them be methodical in their approach. They want to run the ball, but they want to get big plays, and they rely on it. If you make them drive the ball, they're liable to make a mistake. If you can get them behind the chains, Brown, we've got one game. That's his body of work. He looks like a phenomenal. He's a big, strong, fast athlete at quarterback, 6'4", 220.
Yeah.
Well, he might be more than 220. But watching him pass, he was 8 of 20, 62 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And he doesn't look like he's got tremendous accuracy. So he doesn't scare me as a thrower. I think you need to make him a thrower. So that's my first key. Stuff the run and don't give him big plays in the run game.
Okay.
My number 2 is move the ball through the air with a quick passing game. I feel like if you get the quick passing game going, UCF will be really aggressive, and then there'll be some big plays over the top for BYU in the passing game to Chase and to Darius and those guys. And my number 3 is win the turnover margin battle.
Okay.
That's been a formula for BYU all year. Iowa State was 2-2 with turnovers, but Iowa State's were more costly. We talk those terminal turnovers. We turn it over for a pick six and you just give the other team points. BYU can't have that, especially on the road. Win the turnover battle and BYU come out of there 8-0. So those
Fantastic.
are my 3.
Those are the 3. We will revisit them next week. Cougars, thank you for watching The Wise Guys.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.